Hi, it's Christy Marks,
And I'm Dan Marks.
and we're Embrace the Crazy, where we talk about the craziness of our lives and the hard things in our lives as well, and try and keep it real. So today we're going to be talking about planning an organisation. Does that equal sanity? And a few of the topics we're going to discuss is living our lives each day and how that comes together in reality, which is sometimes not so great. Planning ahead, goals, and rowing the same boat together, and then checking in, evaluating, and changing. And I think Dan's going to love that one, seeing he loves change. So to kick it off, living our lives day to day, how do we do it, and what does it look like in reality? Sometimes it's a big old mess, but most of the time, as we've discussed before, my organisational streak comes out, and in terms of having a calendar for day-to-day things helps with somewhat with the running of day-to-day activities. Would you agree, Dan?
I would. Look, you're probably questioning why have I not spoken, as I like to always speak a lot. But on this topic, I obviously have not much value to add. I am not the organiser and I am not the planner. So today, Christy will be doing most of the talking and I'll just be agreeing and saying how good it all is, because she does a really amazing job.
So I'm a bit old school. Dan doesn't like paper, but I love a good list. I love a good written calendar. And I must say, my written calendar usually helps me out a lot. I do put things in my phone, but then I transfer it over to the written calendar that's hanging in the kitchen. So on that calendar, we have events for everybody, our sporting activities, our times we go out, anything. Our birthdays is a big one. Parties that we have to go to, times where we're going down the coast, to parents, to siblings, places. Everything goes in that calendar. It did let me down recently though, and I think it wasn't really the calendar. It was probably my mind, where one of our children was getting an award at school and totally forgot about it.
You were very disappointed.
I was devastated, and
I was on time, which made it even worse because I was there and wondering where you were, and you weren't there.
I wasn't there, and I even said to a friend earlier in the day, "Oh, I've got to go to school later. There's an award ceremony." And I just was in the zone with work, I think, and I was just getting through things. And it was around the time we moved house, wasn't it? It was the lead up to the moving house, and it just escaped my brain. And the next time I had something really important that I had to do before I had to pick the kids up, I put a big post-it note on my computer, and I even wrote it on my hand so that I wouldn't forget. I was absolutely devastated because it's normally this guy who doesn't show up to things. But yeah, that day was devastating.
I think the calendar of events is fantastic.
Yeah.
It really does help you understand what's going on, and then more importantly, when you want to book something in or you want to do something, it actually allows you to look at, all right, what have we already got happening? Because otherwise you'll be out and about and say, yeah, we can do that, or yeah, I want to do that. And then in actual reality, we're already going away, or we've already got some commitment on that we've already said that we were going to. So it just helps just get some basic structure in place, particularly when we've got, so much going on, that just makes it a little bit more easier to access and know what's happening and not double book and overbook.
Yeah, and overbooking's a big thing, I think. Being able to make sure we've only got a few things on.
And also when the kids say they want to do things, the kids will say, hey, we want to go to Sydney to do something, or we want to go to sport here. Well, we can say, have a look at the calendar, see if you can find a weekend. If you can find a weekend or a day or whatever's needed, feel free to book it in and we'll do it.
Yeah, we do that a little bit, don't we? When the kids say something, oh, can we do this? You say, go and put it on the calendar, and then I look on the calendar and there's something on the calendar that I didn't put there, which is very unusual. But Dan likes giving the kids that little bit of independence and saying to them, well, if you want to do it, you have to schedule it in, which is a good thing. I just want to talk about overscheduling and being able to manage that a little bit, and being able to say no. It's okay not to do things. We've had a couple of birthday party invites that we've had to turn down because we just had too much on that weekend. Saying no is okay, and not having a packed schedule is okay. Well, it's okay in my house.
Look, I hate it. I love the pack schedule, and I love saying yes to everything. But fortunately, you're here, because otherwise we would do even more than what we do. So, yeah. But you're right. I think, having space to be able to just be at home, allow the kids to have their friends over, have our friends over, or just be able to do jobs around the house, which for us is never ending. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, really important to make sure you've got space.
Yeah. And the other thing I do, and I think I do quite well, is meal plan. And so at the beginning of every week or over the weekend, I have a big magnet thing on the fridge that has our meal plan and our schedule. So I even write little things that we've got on our schedule. So if it's a birthday or if we're going away, I write them on the meal planner so that everybody knows it's in the middle. It's on the fridge. Everybody can see what's happening. And the meal planning, that helps with my organisation, because I can see what's coming up, what we've got on the menu. And also helps with the constant question, Mum, what are we having for dinner? Mum, what are we having for dinner? Even before breakfast sometimes, Mum, what are we having for dinner? It's really frustrating. I say, go and look at the fridge. It's all there. That really helps me. And also planning out, even our lunches. So the kids' lunches, but particularly for us, that healthy lifestyle that we like to have, it's better to have your meals planned out or make something on the weekend so that you're not flying out the door and grabbing whatever you can, or grabbing something while you're at work or out and about. So I find that meal planning really helps me. I don't know whether it helps Dan at all.
I love it. I love the fact that I can look at the fridge and I know what's coming up for dinner, because that is always an exciting part of my day. So seriously, it is. So I really like to know what's going on. I think the kids are the exact same. And it also just helps with shopping. Like if you drill it back to what else does it help? Well, it helps us organising shopping. You said it helps us organise eating healthily. Yes, it does. So it just helps build that structure into our family where we're, most parts very unstructured.
Yes, I would say that. So we also talk about what's ahead for the week. So on Sundays we sit down and say, okay, this is happening, and we've gotten into a bit of a groove this last little while of picking up the kids from swimming on a Monday, so you're home at a reasonable hour, so that if I've got things to do, I can go and do them, or we can sit down and have a family meal at a reasonable time, which the time for a dinner seems to be going further. But if we can share what's going on for the week ahead and know what's coming up, you went and played tennis last night and you already told me about that. And there's not much happening this week because we're in that lull between footy season and then summer sport starting. But I think just talking about what's coming up, and even scheduling in things, I'm doing this on this day. Is that okay? Does that work for you? Does that work for your schedule? Because sometimes Dan has to be home early for me to go to things, go to meetings, go out, and to be able to talk about it and know that we're all both on the same page helps.
I often find it really hard. So on Sundays in the afternoon, the last thing you even want to think about is work, and it's already coming down on you. But I think having that conversation and just being mindful that, yes, so I might not want to talk about it, but it actually helps Christy plan the week a lot. And it also allows you to think about, so what times or windows will you have to be able to do things? So, yeah, really trying hard, and I'm still trying hard at that, to be honest, but to try and share as much as possible about what's happening in my life and what I'm focused on and what I want to try and achieve week by week, because it just gives you visibility, and also will help you understand, all right, I can have dinner early this night because he's not going to be home or he's not going to be here, or whatever the answer is. It just helps that whole planning process, doesn't it?
Definitely. So we're going to talk about planning in a wider sense now. So it's not just week to week now, but when did we start doing the goal planning for the year?
A few years ago.
Yeah. Dan has the time off around Christmas and New Year. And he's like, all right, Christy, we're doing a goal planning session. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is crazy. What do you mean? We're not, we're not a, I don't know. This is in our workplace. This is our home. But I actually really liked it. I liked that idea of looking back at what we've achieved, looking forward to what we want to do, and we have some groups areas that we like to focus on: family, finances, business.
Holidays.
Holidays is a big one.
Yep.
And then our individual stuff that we want to do. And we also write things that we want the kids to do, and we get them involved as well. So I really appreciated that. And I think, although you didn't like really doing it because you're on holidays, I think it sets us up well for the year, and a good review from what we've done in the last year. This year's going to be fun, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I mean, I love it. It's obviously something that I do at work lots, where we talk about planning. What are we going to achieve? Where do we want to go? So why don't you do it at home? Like, why don't you do it with your life, where you care about it even more than work? So, we sat down and we put it together, and it was hard. It took a few hours. It's also really joyful because you're talking about your dreams and what you really care about. And yes, that part's hard because sometimes some things are big and you're scared to put them out there, but that's the whole point. You put them out there, you talk about what we want to do for the year, and then you have then there's a plan to be able to get there. So for me, that was really exciting. It's also really nice to reflect. We looked back on what we'd done previously, and that was really nice to say, well, we did these things, we didn't do these things, but we know why we didn't do them, or we changed for this reason. So for me, it was really nice. And then we kept it up. There was a whiteboard that was really visible that we saw throughout the year, so we could keep looking at it and seeing how we're tracking and how we're going. So yeah, it was a really, really important process. And then it changed lots. So, and that's okay too. And we talk about this lots in, having a family and running the lives that we all do, is that things change lots. So keep updating it, keep changing it. It was a whiteboard. I just would wipe things out, or I would update them to be something else when things changed. But, it was a really, I guess, exciting way for us to think about our life for the year, what we had ahead. And then it takes away a lot of the doubt. You talk about, the financial goals. So, we've got financial goals that we want to hit. Well, if we do some things, you're not going to hit those goals.
Yeah.
So then it makes us challenge ourselves to say, well, we can do that, but it's going to impact this. And, goals around holidays or breaks or where we want it to go, you put them up, and it makes it really easy, because then you can say, well, we've got these zones of when we can go on holidays. Here are the places that we said we wanted to go to, or the times that we wanted to spend together. Let's book them in. Let's make them happen.
Yep.
So it doesn't happen by just feeling like it in a day. It's actually planned out, and we're clear on what we want to do for the year ahead. And yeah, it makes it really great. And we get the kids involved. So we let the kids know, look, we're thinking about these holidays for the year, or doing these things this year. And they can be part of that process. So yeah, I think it's a really good investment. We did it at the start of the year because we had time to do it. I think the big fact is just have some time to do it. It's not something you can do in 30 minutes and say, all right, we've now got our plan. It actually does take a bit of time to reflect and plan ahead.
Yeah, I think that first time it kind of caught me unawares, because you're like, all right, we're doing a goal setting. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, I wasn't in the space to be able to do that. And so I went away and I thought about it, and you'd already done a whole thing, and I felt really intimidated by it because I wasn't prepared for it at all whatsoever. But then once we started doing it, and I actually had some time to reflect on it, I actually had some value add. But this guy's the main, big idea. You're the big ideas man.
Derailleur.
You're not the derailleur. You're the big ideas man. You have lots of ideas, which is fantastic. But it also can be intimidating for me, in terms of I just like to coast along, and I generally go along with all of Dan's ideas and Dan's plans, because I've learnt it's taken me a little while, but when Dan has an idea, just to go with it, because it's not the path of least resistance, but he always has such good ideas. He has these big ideas, but they're always really good, and they always seem to pan out. So that's because he put so much thought into it as well. It isn't just, he doesn't just come up with this idea. He's been ruminating on it for days, months, years potentially, and then brings it to me in a packaged form, and then I just go along for the ride.
Christy, I don't think I've ever heard those words before, but it's lovely to hear it. But
Yeah,
but we take risks, right? Like I think I'm the risk taker, you're not
Yeah.
the risk taker. But I think it balances each other out. We've both got good ideas. I might start with an idea, you actually build it out to something that's real, that we can actually deliver on and make happen. So I think we're a team, and that's what this is all about. Is I
Yeah.
think we've all got good ideas.
Yeah.
You know, part of that process of sitting together is to say, let's get all the ideas out. Like, let's just get them all out. Some of them might not be the 1 year, they might be the 2 or 3 or 5, but at least you start to get those ideas out. And the process here is mostly just about talking with each other more broadly than the day ahead or the week ahead, which it's so hard to do because in our lives, we're so busy and we've got so much on and we're so focused on getting, spending the day doing whatever is needed with the kids and family and parents and all those other things that you forget about those bigger parts. So actually investing in that time is a really important step, and I think it's a team. It really is a team thing. And the best part I love about it is it's my time to be able to say I want to get all those ideas out because I've got them all in my head. And yes, they might be great in my head and they might be this great dreamland that I live, but if they're not out and they're not shared, well, we're both going to be unhappy because I'm going to be not talking about things that I really want to do and where I really want to be. And you're going to be frustrated because I'm not communicating properly.
Yeah.
So it allows us to do all of those things, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And going back to you living in the dreamland, I like to think that you have all these great ideas. You have your head in the clouds, but you actually have some great ideas. And I help, as you were saying, I help sometimes cut them down to size, but also I help with maybe being a bit more realistic about what's achievable and what's able to be done in terms of financially as well.
I'm glad you just talked about financially. So that's a really important part. Probably one of the most stressful areas of a partnership always is around the finances, whether it's in business or in your home life. So let's talk a little bit about what we do in terms of our financial planning, because really that's wrapped up. So we don't see it as separate. We see it as part of our goals and our planning for the year. And when our discussions that we have, we always make sure finance is a critical part of that because it's the enabler. And you've got to take some risks, but you also got to take, lots of times where you've got to make sacrifices because that's what drives those financial outcomes that you're after. So let's talk a little bit about our financial goals and plans and how we do that, Christy.
Okay.
I'll start.
Good idea.
So we I think the first one is super. Super is something in Australia that we all have and we all are required to contribute to as part of our work. So we model it. We model out what financial situation do we want to be in from a superannuation perspective. It's so easy. You can do it in Excel. There's so many tools and products that allow you to do this. But we literally know what we want to have when we retire. We know what year we think we're going to retire, and we know how much we need to contribute year on year. So yes, there's a certain amount that you have to contribute as part of your salary, and to be able to work out where you want to be when you retire, you need to understand, is there further contributions you need to make, or is that enough? And so we're really clear on that year to year, week to week, month to month. What do we need to contribute to be able to be in the position that we need to be? And it's not about being a real millionaire and having, everything that we need. That's not what our plan is. But our plan is to be able to make us happy at the right time in our life, to be able to live a great life. And so we really manage that. And when I say we, you manage that very well. We set a target together of where we think we need to be and what we want to achieve. And then month by month, we contribute to that process. And it's something that we just do religiously. It's probably one of the things that, and these come from my parents, is that you have to do it. It's just something you have to make work. And fortunately in Australia, we're forced to do it. So it actually happens by default anyway. But you need to think about behind it, how you're best managing it and how you're best getting the most out of it. So whether that's with a fund or you're investing it yourself, that's a choice for you to make and for you to drive. But you really got to be invested in it and really in front of it and making sure that you're managing it ongoing.
And let's be honest, this guy's never going to stop working, so I don't think we're going to have any problems there. But yeah, it is a big consideration. And in terms of we've talked about super, but what are the other big financial burdens in a household? Is probably a mortgage or you rent, and we make sure that that's one of our big goals. If are we going to be able to do this within the constraints of what we have to pay every month, every week, every fortnight, whatever it is. And we try to make it work in terms of where we can make savings and where we can maybe pull back on some things so that we can do the things that we want to do. But also, Dan, I wanted to make a point to say that our goals aren't just all about things that cost money. That they aren't just all financial goals. We have, also on our goal board are our family values and how do we instill those family values in our children, and that's also on our goal board as well. Spending more time with our family, that is always on our goal board, and how can we do that? And spending time with our valuable friends, and how do we make that happen day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. That's always on our. So that's another thing I just wanted to be really clear about. It's not just about financial goals. It's not just about work related goals. It's about our family values. And I know we've spoken about this a million times, but I want to be really upfront with that. We're not just talking about financial goals. We're talking about life goals. We're talking about how best do we get the value out of ourselves and really reach our true identity and our true passion.
What we're about. Yeah, and I talked about that at the start when we talked about dreams. I think that really is what it is, and I use the word goals because that's my work terms, but really it's about our dreams. How do we want to live our life? What do we want to experience? How do we want to bring up our kids? And then how are we going to enable that? Finance is one of that. Being in the community is one of that. Being close to our friends and family is a critical part of that. So all of those parts come together. And so when we look at our goals and our dreams and where we want to be, we look at all of those facets together and we talk about them lots. And we change them lots, but we try and work as a team on those because they're not mine or Christie's or one of our kids. They're actually all of ours. They affect all of us. Yeah. And so, albeit I might be the person driving many things and I might be the one with lots of ideas, at the same time, I'm very well aware through my experiences and learnings the hard way, I think, is that I've got to talk to you about them and I've got to share you with them. And look, I used to do PowerPoint presentations because I'm obsessed with work, and I used to do those to Christy, and I used to do presentations to say, hey, I'd like to buy this house or go to this place, and here's why, and let me tell you why it's going to be the best reason. Just think about it like in a work context when you're trying to convince someone. It's really the same thing. And I would do that. And I'd do that because I cared, but because I knew that I needed to make sure that my partner was in it together. It's not going to be one of those things where I've made the bad decision and I've made the wrong mistake. We've done it together.
Yeah. And I think that first PowerPoint you did for me was Project Convince Christy. And that was where we first built our first investment property. So, he came to me with this PowerPoint presentation. What do I say? He's done all the numbers and he's done all the, all this amazing artwork on the, so it really was convincing me. But not saying that he convinced me. It was a joint effort and it was a joint decision. So, in terms of when we set goals, we also have to check in, we have to evaluate, and we need to change. And so we always do a review at the end of, it's even just as simple as, oh, how was your day today? What did you do? What did you achieve? But then, as I said, we do the year in review. We have a look back at what goals we set, what we've done, but that wasn't on our goal list. So, I think there'll be a few things this year that we didn't really have on our list of things to do this year, like buying a house, but they happened, and that's a real financial goal for us. We've achieved something that I know that we both really wanted, and that's fantastic. But also, I think we need to talk about how we change them if they're not going so well. And I'd like you to talk about this, seeing as
Look, I think this is what life's all about. And so you've got to get really good at this, because I think this is what partnerships are all about, is that things will happen that you didn't plan for, or things will happen that you don't expect. And part of, running a family and living life is that you've just got to go and make them work. And so that'll mean that sometimes the dreams that you have and desires that you have won't occur tomorrow. They may take longer. They may actually be redundant, and you might have other ones as a result of it. So I think you have to have that expectation to start with. And look, I push really hard on our goals. I know we had last year some very specific goals that I was pushing really, really hard on, and we didn't achieve some of them. And that's okay. I think we pushed hard. We gave it all that we had, and we didn't get there for many reasons. And that's all right. But I think on the changing part, we're lucky. We talk about this all the time. So I guess for us, it doesn't usually happen off a cliff step.
No.
That sometimes happens when you can't control those things. But most of the ones that happen are things that are building up that we know about. So you talked about buying a house.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about it.
Yes.
We thought it was a great idea. We thought it was the right answer for our family. And so we made that decision together. So that would affect a goal that we had.
Yeah.
But we created a new goal out of that, and we agreed on it together.
Yeah.
So I think that's the part of making sure that you're talking really regularly on this. I know we're going away on the weekend. I know that we're going to have a couple of hours in the car together. I know we're going to talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just what we do.
Yeah.
And it's really good because I've already got the thinking in my head. All right, what have I got to talk about? How am I going to contribute to this process? So now Christy's got a heads up that we're going to talk about
We're
it.
going to talk about it.
But we always do, and you always initiate it. It's
Yeah.
always you that does that. You're the good communicator in our relationship. So you're the one that starts that. So for me, I think making sure that you're always talking about things, because if you've got a desire to buy a car or to go and help out a community organisation or whatever that part is, as long as your partner knows about it, so when you get close to it, they're not going to be surprised and say, what happened there?
Yeah.
They're going to know about it.
True. Yeah.
And I think it also works for your family too. And I think I've learned this the hard way many times, where we had big milestones in our life that we didn't talk about, and they weren't part of the journey. And, at the time we thought that was the right reason, but I think making sure the people that are close to you, so not only your partner, but your loved ones, are really a part of that journey and that process together. They want to know what you're doing. They want to know where you're going. So involve them in the process. And yes, it might be scary because you're saying, hey, we're dreaming about these things, and some of them won't come to reality. And that always scares me, because I think they're going to think I'm a failure. But at the same time, I think that how nice is it that they see where I'm going? How nice is it that they're going to be part of helping me get to that process? They're going to be talking about it, and they're going to be helping me. They're on my side. They're on our side. And so I think sometimes you forget about that because you think, no, we're going to get it done. And then they're going to look at us and think how amazing it is. But that's not what families and friends are all about. They actually want to be part of each step of the process. That's what great friendships and family members are all about, is being on the journey together the whole time. And I hate using those words, but it really is true, isn't it?
It is. And I'm just thinking particularly about a conversation we had with your sister earlier in the year. And I think our conversation and our belief in her, she has then taken that, and she's achieved something this year because of the discussions we were having about our goal setting, and how, and we also talked her up, and we told her we thought she'd be really good at something, and she went and did it, and she's amazing, and now she's got a business, and she's doing really well. So I think talking about it actually opens up other people's eyes to what they can do, and being really positive about what people are interested in can actually help them propel into something they may not have done before we had a discussion with them.
Yeah, and I think this is all about support and love. So it's not about pressure. So I think that's the part you need to be really clear on. Yeah. And, I think I walk a very fine line between these, because I push hard and I do put pressure on myself, but I put pressure on others as well, because I think, I want people to be the best that they can be.
Yeah.
But it's not about that. It's not about, keeping people accountable. It's much more about helping people and being part of it together and celebrating the ups and downs, right? Like you got to, there's lots of downs, which is great learnings. And that's okay to have those downs and not achieve things. I think we achieve lots, but we also don't do things. But I'd expect that, we're pushing hard to try and achieve lots of things. So we're going to not get all of them, but we're going to work real hard to get there. And we're going to feel satisfied that we gave it our best to do what we wanted. And then we've got more time next year to do more.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's probably what we wanted to talk about. We've spoken about how we do things in terms of a day-to-day and how that looks in real life for us. We've talked about longer term goals, and we've also talked about evaluation and changing how we're thinking along with all of our goals, whether it be a personal goal, a financial goal, a family goal, a value-based goal. So yeah, I'm glad we talked about this, Dan.
So am I. Look, and I wanted to thank everyone. We've got lots of great feedback, lots of encouragement. We really appreciate it. Keep letting us know what you think, what you want to hear about. We're really here to just try and share what we know and what we don't, and get your thoughts as long as part of that process as well. So we really appreciate all the support from all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Have a great day, everyone.
See you next time.
Very easy.
Bye.